Ahead on Up with KREM, traveling this summer? Well, we've got tips for keeping your money safe no matter where you are.
Plus, I'm tracking your weekend forecast as it is going to be hot and breezy for your Saturday. The details ahead.
Plus, have you heard of the viral 90s summer trend? We'll explain what it is and why families are jumping on board. Good morning and thank you for starting your day here with us on Up with KREM. I'm Brandon T. Jones. Over in the Weather Center, we've got Jenny Power. And Jenny, it feels every bit of summer. It feels like, officially like in the thick of summer. So what do we need to know this weekend in terms of the weather?
Yeah, Brandon, taking a look at the forecast, I mean, it is, yes, idyllic summer conditions that we are seeing across the inland Northwest as we're preparing for an extended stretch of mostly dry and sunny and warm conditions. So what you need to know for the day today, it is going to be mostly sunny, but at times it is also going to be a little bit breezy. Highs will be in the mid 80s for the Spokane area. And as we take a look across the region, we are looking at some upper 80s for Moses Lake and Ritzville, mid 90s for Richland there in the Tri-Cities with some low to mid 90s in the LC Valley, and mid 80s as the highs down on the Palouse for Pullman and Moscow. If you do plan to be outside, we are seeing plenty of sunshine outside right now, but the one thing to note is that we're under a southwesterly flow, the inland Northwest is, and so through this afternoon and this evening, our winds are going to be picking up. So it will be breezy at times, especially as we take a look at the areas like the Okanagan Valley, folks that live on the Colville Reservation, as well as part of the Waterville Plateau. Gusts there could reach about 35 miles per hour in north central Washington. So we're watching out for the risk of elevated fire danger. The full details of this coming up in my extended forecast.
All right, what's better than live music in the summer, right? If you're going to Blessing in Disguise today, make sure you're going to stay hydrated. It's a brand new music festival and it starts at 1:30. There will be 4 stages and 20 different acts. Macklemore, AJR, Alan Stone, and AWOL Nation are headlining. Tickets are still available. They start at $124.
It's a once-in-a-lifetime thing to do. I mean, it was just something I couldn't miss it.
All right, in case you missed it, a look at the time capsule in the historic Kootenai County Courthouse. This was to celebrate the 100th anniversary of the courthouse. The Museum of North Idaho said the items inside the time capsule were too delicate to bring out, so they brought photocopies of everything inside. Most were paper documents like newspaper clips, photos, and a registry of everyone who lived in town.
100 years now and then, I mean, it's night and day. I mean, you think about now, all of us, we grew up with the internet and phones. Back then, it was just pen and paper.
And they will eventually put all the items on display at the Museum of North Idaho. And city officials say they are going to put another time capsule at the courthouse to be opened in 2126. They're going to put letters from county commissioners, a roll of pennies, and a cell phone. Well, we've got lots going on this weekend across the inland Northwest. So, of course, we're breaking it all down for you here in your weekend What's Up. And first up, the Spokane Lavender Festival is this weekend. There's going to be some live music, vendors, foods, crafts, games, and a bunch more. Make sure to bring your camera, though, because you can get some perfect photos of all of the blooming lavender fields. And the biggest celebration in Post Falls just so happens to be this weekend. The Post Falls Festival promises fun for the whole family all weekend long. Elsewhere in North Idaho, Sandpoint has a boat show this weekend. Dozens of wooden boats will be at the Sandpoint Marina and Boardwalk today, and they'll explore the lake on Sunday as well. That's from 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. both days. The Friends of the Library monthly book sale is today. It was delayed a bit because of 4th of July last week. It's at the Sandpoint Library from 10 a.m. until 2 p.m. And if you're anything like me, you got to possibly get in shape. So summer is the perfect time to get moving. This morning, Riverfront Park will have a full body yoga sculpt. It's going to be a class of yoga sculpting, and it's at the pavilion, and you need to just bring a yoga mat. Another fun one right here, the annual charity cornhole tournament is today at the Kootenai County Fairgrounds. It starts at 11 a.m., raises money for CASA in North Idaho, which helps children who have been neglected or abused. Their goal is to raise $20,000 this year. And Chris Botti, a Grammy Award-winning trumpeter, is performing at the Fox this evening at 8 p.m. It's a benefit concert to raise money for the Music Conservatory of Sandpoint. And if you're up in Sandpoint and you don't want to make the drive, they'll have a coach bus leaving for Spokane at 5:30. It costs $50. And there is a kids' day craft fair today out in Rathdrum. It's from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. at the Rathdrum Lions Club. There will be face painting, balloon animals, and a sprinkler to play. Also, the fire department, the public library, and a local beekeeper will have booths there as well. In downtown Coeur d'Alene's 9th annual Brewfest is tonight. There will be more than 40 local and regional craft beers, ciders, and non-alcoholic drinks to try as well. This year is setting a bit of a record. It will have the most taps in Brewfest history. Tickets start at $40. You can get a commemorative pint glass and a 6 5-ounce tasting pours. All right, new this morning, with all the fun summer brings, some families are trying out the viral 90s summer. It's all about unplugging and leaning into nostalgia. Take a look.
Before tablets and TikTok, summer had just a few rules. Be home before dinner, drink some water, and don't forget your helmet.
Being bored is one of the best things that can happen to a kid.
Well, that carefree life is making a comeback thanks to the viral 90s summer trend.
I'm a 90s kid myself.
But it's not just nostalgia. Pediatrician Sean Stringham says there's actually some major health benefits to a 90s summer.
Some of the trend on the 90s summer is let the kids go and be bored. Let them be creative. Let them use their imagination.
Stringham says the biggest tip kids should take from the 90s, eliminate the screen time.
Just let kids be kids, and so there's no rush to get screens in front of them.
For kids under 2, Stringham says no screen time, unless it's for something like a FaceTime. For kids 2 to 5, less than 2 hours is recommended. And for kids 6 and up, he says it's up to the parent.
There's some really good studies that actually show pretty direct correlations with more outside time, more green time, less rates of anxiety, depression, other mental health stuff.
He also says in the 90s, kids took risks. They had the freedom to leave the schedule behind and go be a kid.
We want the kids to wear helmets. We want them to be safe. But we also don't need to be so protective that they're not going out and having fun.
So those scraped knees, dirty shoes, they might be doing more good than you think.
We want them to be safe. We want them to make good choices. But we also want them to be able to explore and be creative and do new things.
And whether it's a game of tag, a trip to the park, or a family board game night, the biggest takeaway isn't about going back to the 90s. It's about making more time for each other.
If we are going to focus on a couple things that the 90s did well, less screen time, more outside play, and more boredom. And so the more kids are be able to have unstructured time to be able to figure out new things and grow and play and even sometimes take some risks, the better for the kid.
All right, we've gotten more ahead. If you're heading out of town this summer, keep in mind these tips to keep your money safe and accessible. That interview is next. Plus, we're tasting one of the biggest burgers in Idaho. The story of Effie's 1-pound burger just ahead.
The summer travel season is in full swing, so we thought it'd be a good idea to bring in a financial expert. So we have Samantha Harper with STCU joining us. Thanks so much for being here.
Thank you.
Samantha, I want to talk about this. A lot of people are traveling, and there's some things that they should keep in mind when it comes to, their banking and all, because it could be a risk to put them and their money at risk. Tell us about what folks should know.
I think the first thing to really make sure everybody focuses on is letting your financial institution know that you're going to be traveling. We all want our banks to identify unusual transactions and flag those. So if they don't know that you'll be traveling, they might inadvertently flag those as fraud, and that can be a headache for you when you're traveling.
Right, because then what happens if they are flagged? Does that mean their card could be locked?
Exactly. Their card can be locked. They'll have to contact their institution and get it unlocked. It can be a pain, so you'll want to make sure you let them know. It's also nice to have a second form of payment just in case. If that happens or something gets lost or stolen, having a backup can make sure you can continue your travels without having to have those headaches right then.
Yeah, imagine trying to contact your bank and you didn't buy the international plan on your phone. It could be a headache. Okay, so now you're international, you're abroad, and you've notified your bank. What else should folks do? Because there's some, steps that they can take while they're abroad to keep their information and their money safe as well.
Yeah, it's really important to consider what Wi-Fi you are using. I know it's convenient to log in at the airport or the hotel, but unfortunately those are not secure. So you'll want to avoid logging into your online banking or doing those large online transactions using unsecure Wi-Fi.
Okay.
Can also be really fun to check in on social media at the airport or your hotel or post pictures, but that really opens you up for risk as well, because then everybody knows where you are and that you are not home. It makes you a target.
So what are, you've been doing this for over a decade now. What are some of the cases that you've heard about? I mean, what's the most common you would say that you see in the mistake that people make?
I think the biggest mistake is people just get on vacation and they're very relaxed. They might set their wallet at the beach and then head off to the restroom or grab a drink, things like that, and they're not keeping their information secure. And fraudsters know that. They know people on vacation are not paying attention. They're not doing that usual due diligence. So it can be a primary time for them to hit.
Can you talk about ATM withdrawals? You can withdraw money before you leave. That's an option. But sometimes you need to withdraw a large amount, or maybe you just want to withdraw a little bit at a time. How do you know which ATM to go to?
I would suggest finding a financial institution where you're at. Avoid the ATM at the convenience store on the corner. Find a name you know and use that ATM. Oftentimes they'll have one in the drive-through or in the lobby even for you to use. Those ones you're gonna have the best luck with being secure and not have those cards be compromised.
Okay, Samantha, anything else that folks should know?
I would say the last tidbit is it can be very helpful to set alerts for your transactions in online banking before you leave. Then if something does happen, it's alerted to you right away and you can jump on it and it doesn't snowball while you're gone.
Oh, so good. Such great information. Thanks so much for being here, Samantha.
Thank you.
We'll be right back.
And coming up, I've got everything you need to know for your weekend forecast ahead.
Well, since 1965, Lewiston, Idaho has been home to one of the largest burgers in the entire state. Photographer Nate Brand and Nicole Legou drove down to Lewiston to try and see and try this legend themselves.
If you've heard of Lewiston, you've probably heard of Effie's as well, so we had to check it out while we're here.
Effie's has been around since 1965, so you can't miss us. We're kind of a hole in the wall, and all we have is a sign that shows us where we're at. We love to have fun, we love music, and we just love our food. So that's what keeps it going. Effie opened it up in 1965, like I said. She started out with the original 1-pound burgers. It's kind of one of the only, probably the first 1-pound burgers to be made in the state of Idaho, honestly. So one of our burgers can feed up to 4 people, and our burgers are actually less expensive than the leading fast food joint.
And you can't talk about a 1-pound burger this whole time and not give it a try, right? Look at that thing. I think I need a friend for this one. So we brought in photographer Nate. Nate, do the honors.
Obviously, it's a 1-pound burger. If it's your birthday, come in here. We put on a burger suit, we put on a fry suit. We're gonna sing happy birthday to you. We're gonna embarrass you guys, not me. You should see us dance, we're terrible. We didn't even have music going.
Cheers.
Come on down to Effie's, visit the burger and fries.
Well, folks, thanks so much for joining us here on this Saturday. It's time to get an extended look at what you need to know weather-wise for the day today. Temperatures are going to be warm. We'll continue to see daytime highs that will be in the 80s, and I am tracking a mostly sunny, yet at times breezy weather pattern as we move forward through this afternoon. And it is even going to be prompting some elevated fire weather risks for parts of north central Washington. So that's why we are going to be aware of that as we move forward. We're seeing elevated fire danger specifically for things like the Okanagan Valley, the Colville Reservation, as well as parts of the Waterville Plateau. Temperatures this afternoon, this is a look at them. Highs in the mid-80s for Spokane and Coeur d'Alene. We're also sitting in the mid-80s through Bonners Ferry and Sandpoint. Low to mid-90s for the LC Valley. A high of 94 degrees for Richland there in the Tri-Cities, and some upper 80s across the central part of the state. These temperatures today are actually a couple of degrees cooler than where we were at yesterday, but it definitely is still going to feel like summer across the inland northwest. We're pairing those warmer temperatures with this widespread sunshine through the rest of this afternoon. But as we move into tonight as well as tomorrow, we are gradually going to see some increasing clouds. So at times through this evening, it is going to be partly cloudy. We're sitting partly cloudy through Sunday as well as Sunday afternoon and into Monday. That's when we'll start to see a clearing trend. But even though we are going to be seeing a few more clouds, it is still a predominantly dry weather forecast, really through our extended forecast. Here's a look at those winds, though, because this is what we monitor closely when it comes to that elevated fire weather risk. And so the eyes are going to be on this area of the inland northwest near the Cooley Dam up toward Omak, where wind gusts could be near 35 miles per hour and relative humidity as low as 12%. The good news is that winds do die down overnight tonight and into our Sunday. Sunday in general, winds will be lighter. So if you have outdoor plans, might want to consider moving them to Sunday if you are too bothered there by the wind. But of course, if you do any outdoor recreation, always be fire weather aware. Overnight tonight, we fall mostly into the low 60s for Spokane and Coeur d'Alene. We are in the upper 50s tonight for Deer Park as well as Sandpoint, low 60s for Grand Coulee and Moses Lake. And as we take a look at what's to come tomorrow, highs will be the coolest really out of the next 7 days, even though this is a look at the 3-day forecast. 83 tomorrow for Sunday, partly cloudy skies, still nice if you want to spend some time outdoors. Temperatures are going to climb early next week, where we are going to watch for highs in the upper 80s to low 90s pretty consistently. So make sure you're staying hydrated and you have a good way to cool down, especially in the heat of the day. To always get the latest updates on the forecast as well as stream our live local radar, make sure you download the KREM 2 app for free on your TV or your phone.
Our producers here on KREM 2 love to talk all things pop culture, and they're giving you a sneak peek at their conversations in the latest episode of Pop Culture with the producers. Here's Kelsey Clark and Adriana Del Padre talking about Minions and Monsters and what it takes to sing in Minionese.
So they had a movie premiere, all the movies have premieres. They premiered at Hollywood June 28th, and they had a Minionese singing competition. Do we have video of that Minionese singing competition? Let's take a listen.
I'm so excited. Hi guys, I'm Ella and I'm here with Jeff Bridges and we're gonna sing a song for you today, right?
Yeah, you know Minionese?
I do know Minionese.
Well, let's hear it, dear.
Yeah, let's do it.
Sing that song, baby. Come on now.
Okay, so I lied. That wasn't the competition, but that was one of the competitors. Just like 4 girls. That was Ella Martin, not the winner. She sang Bohemian Rhapsody by Queen. I think she was the one. There was like a viral clip, and it was her. This is from her Instagram. Sorry. That's okay. That's from her Instagram, but. So yeah, there was 4 competitors. Who won was Raina Kando. She sung "I'll Be There" by Jackson 5.
I have been seeing all the clips on social media.
It's so funny.
And they're so funny. And they're really accurate, too.
They're so good.
Like, when I think
can't
of
talk that
Minionese singing, I think of, like, what is it, Despicable Me 2, where they're singing, like, "I'll be there," but, like, in Minionese.
Yeah.
And that's what I think of when I sing it. But, like, those girls killed it. And I was like, this is great. I would genuinely play this while I'm working because it's not that like words
Yeah,
distract me,
it's
but
not
it's like,
real
oh,
words.
I know what this is.
That's actually so smart. I've never even considered that. But like they apparently got chosen for this. Like it wasn't like they reached out. You know, I don't know who reached out to them, to be fair, but the Minions and Monsters people reached out to these 4 girls and were like, hey, we've seen your videos online, because I guess their whole online presence, or most of their online presence, is speaking and singing in Minionese, and they're like, we want you to go compete. So they outed these girls that were wearing these yellow dresses. They were so cute. And whoever won because like they were all numbered 1 through 4. The audience yelled out the number.
Oh.
And so this girl that won, Raina Kando, her number was 4. They couldn't tell if they were saying 4 or more. And so she just kept singing and they're like, no, 4, which is really silly. She won a golden banana statue.
I would put that on my resume. I'm not going to lie.
I know. I would too. Awards and accolades, golden banana.
I have my guac-off win on my resume. I think
you do.
I do. I put that on my resume. I'm prepared in case I get invited to a party. I'm bringing
That's
salsa and guac, guys.
You got to bring the little award too.
To watch the full episode, check out the KREM 2 app right now. Kelsey and Adriana cover everything pop culture, from Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce's wedding to LeBron James' watch and where he could be potentially playing for next season. You can watch that right now for free. And coming up, a Tri-Cities 9-year-old beat a world record. How long he managed to hold this plank in just 2 minutes. A fun story this morning. A 9-year-old from Kennewick just set the kids' world record for longest plank at 1 hour, 1 minute, and 5 seconds. Here's how he did it and what he plans to do next.
Meet Jack Sims, a 9-year-old from Kennewick who can hold a plank longer than every other kid his age in the entire world.
Jack's world record was 1 hour, 1 minute, and 5 seconds holding a plank. He beat the previous record by 10 minutes. So I thought, why not challenge Jack to a good old-fashioned plank off?
We started the timer, and I learned how Jack got his start in planking.
We were in PE class, and we had like a little planking contest, and I won. And that gave me the idea to try to beat the world record.
His first plank at school lasted 6 minutes, already an impressive feat. Then he told his parents about his goal.
Right away, he kind of talked about, man, it'd be cool if I could do that. And so we just said, yeah, do it. I don't think we really thought it would happen.
After about 6 months of training and a new personal best of 35 minutes, Jack decided to go for the world record of 51 minutes, shattering it.
Like once I had broken it, I felt kind of like relieved and like just happy that I broke it in just both ways.
I ended up tapping out at 2 minutes and 5 seconds, a number I was proud with. Well, Jack wasn't quite done yet.
From the day he was born has been competitive and tenacious, and he just loves a challenge.
Jack was not affected by any of my various attempts to distract him, and he graciously decided to bow out at the 10-minute mark.
The record for a 10-year-old is 1 hour and 16 minutes, and when Jack turns 10, his goal is to break that record as well. And still ahead, oil prices have been dropping. So why are airfares still sky high? We break down the biggest reasons and let you know when things might cool off. Ahead on Up with KREM, it is no secret that the housing market is becoming increasingly unaffordable. But why is it all happening? We debunk some common misconceptions. Plus, oil costs are down, but airfares are still way up when experts recommend you buy your tickets. And all new this morning, more people are leaving the country than coming into it right now. What's sending Americans abroad permanently? Good morning and welcome to Up with KREM. I'm Brandon T. Jones. Lots to get to here in just a few minutes. But first, we want to go ahead and start with Jenny Power, who's over there in the Weather Center. Jenny, how are you doing and what can we expect this summer weekend?
Yeah, doing great, Brandon. Happy to be here and taking a look at the forecast. Yes, it is feeling so summer-like across the inland Northwest. A great day to get outside, maybe to a local lake or river, or maybe you're doing some camping. What we're seeing weather-wise are temperatures in the mid-80s. Plenty of sunshine for the day today. However, it is going to be a little bit breezy later on through this afternoon, so parts of the region are at risk for some elevated fire weather danger. But let's take a look at your daytime highs because we're reaching 86 degrees this afternoon in Coeur d'Alene. We've got some low to mid 90s in the LC Valley, a high of 94 degrees for the folks in Richland. 89 is where we top off in Moses Lake, 90 degrees for Omak, 87 for Wenatchee, 88 out toward the Yakima Valley with mid 80s through the North Idaho Panhandle. Moving forward, though, the inland Northwest is under this southwesterly flow. So what that means is our winds are gradually going to pick up from the southwest through late afternoon, early evening. And this does pose a risk for elevated fire danger for the Okanagan Valley, the Colville Reservation, as well as the northern part of the Waterville Plateau. Cooley Dam and Omak included in that. So be prepared for elevated fire weather risk. We don't want a new start to spark because with winds like this, we could see it spread rapidly. So be fire aware. When these winds, though, are expected to die down, as well as what you can expect for this upcoming work week, coming up in just a few minutes.
Well, a heads up out there in Cheney. The city is under an emergency water restriction for irrigation. That means you can only use light irrigation for your garden right now. No green space irrigation. The city says a mechanical failure damaged one of Cheney's wells this weekend. Repairs could take up to 3 weeks. And the price of oil has dropped 40% since their peak in April, but flying still more expensive. Airfare is 15 to 20% more expensive than a year ago at this time. There are two main things keeping flight prices high. One is demand. Simply put, people keep buying tickets, so airlines have no reason to lower prices. The second is less competition. Since Spirit Airlines went bankrupt, the other legacy airlines have less pressure to compete on price. Experts say airfares typically go down in the fall, so you may be able to save some by delaying those travel plans, but prices still likely will be higher this fall than last fall. The Trump administration is saying a Federal Reserve paper found that home prices spiked under Joe Biden because of illegal immigration. But that paper actually says something different. The paper says the reason home prices were high was because there wasn't enough availability and demand was high. The Gem State Housing Alliance says that's the main problem in Idaho, too. Much demand and not enough supply.
We're not building enough to keep up with demand, and that is what has caused increase in housing costs. Supply demand is the major driver.
The Alliance says most people moving to the state are from another state, not from another country. Meanwhile, as immigration numbers drop, immigration is up. Gwen Baumgartner explores why more and more Americans are leaving the United States permanently.
At this hotel conference center, dozens of Californians are exploring their options abroad.
I've been here for, how old am I, 103? Time for a change.
It's part of a booming business helping Americans move overseas. David Govaker represents Optimize Investment Partners, who organized this event for people interested in living in Portugal.
They want specific answers like, what is the taxation? How soon do I get my residency?
An estimated 180,000 U.S. citizens moved abroad last year as the number of people entering the country, minus those leaving, turned negative for the first time since the Great Depression. A 2025 Gallup poll found 20% of Americans would like to leave the U.S. permanently. Among women ages 15 to 44, that number climbs to 40%. Tufts University sociologist Dr. Helen Marrow says despite those vowing to move to Canada after the 2024 presidential election, politics typically isn't the biggest motivator.
I think that the economics and the cultural exploration and interests and the social networks really drive a lot of the trends, more so than political concerns do.
Jessica Cuevas says a year-long job search spurred her family to move from Chicago to Mexico last summer.
Hola!
Now she's using social media to help others make that same leap.
I think it's allowing people to have that creativity and wantingness to have a different experience.
Sharing the idea that the American dream can sometimes take you elsewhere. Quinn Baumgartner, CBS News, Los Angeles.
All right, before we go, let's go ahead and get a check of today's World Cup matches. The highly anticipated Norway versus England match kicks off at 2 p.m. The players to watch there are Norway's Erling Haaland and Jude Bellingham of England. Then this evening, Argentina faces Switzerland at 6 p.m. The winners here advance to the semifinals. Those semifinals to be played at noon on both Tuesday and Wednesday. And as always, you can watch KREM 2 for the latest World Cup news. Still coming up, does the order in which you eat your food actually matter? Dietitians say yes. The science of your stomach just ahead. And Jenny told us we're in for a warm weekend. What better way to celebrate than with a free Slurpee? That's right, we've got the details just ahead. All right, when you sit down to eat dinner, what do you actually eat first? A salad, a dinner roll, or are you someone who goes for dessert first? Well, new this morning, it turns out there is a best way to tackle your dinner plate. Here's the science plus some practical tips.
I love barbecue, and not just for the meat, but the sides. And if you're like me, this is how you'd attack this meal. A bite of pork, a bite of cornbread, a scoop of sweet potatoes, and a scoop of beans. Fun for my taste buds, maybe not so much for my digestive tract. Does the order in which you eat food matter? Good question.
It can have a lot of benefits to eat your meal in a certain order in terms of kind of what your overall health goal is.
Chella Wallen is a registered dietitian with Lifetime and says this is the ideal sequence. Start with high-fiber, nutrient-dense foods like fruits and vegetables, specifically those low on starch, like leafy greens.
And that can, one, slow down digestion, kind of help you to have better mealtime habits to chew your food better, which is kind of like a secondary benefit.
Follow that with your protein, like meats, then finish with your carbs and starchy vegetables, like potatoes and corn. Essentially, save those French fries for last.
A really big benefit of having your starchy carbohydrates at the end is so that your body can better digest your food so that your blood sugar doesn't spike at the beginning of your meal and then maybe crash later on. And then that could lead to cravings, kind of foggy concentration, feeling tired, just overall just feeling more hungry.
Here's where it gets tricky. Food groups are often served in one package. Think burgers, burritos, stir fry, grain bowls. How should someone approach a meal when all the food groups are combined into one?
So a lot of times if someone's going to have a sandwich or a burger, maybe having some high fiber vegetables and dip on the side first, or having a little bit of protein on the side, like maybe a yogurt before they start. That way you're anchoring your meal with enough vegetables and enough protein, and maybe even starting your meal with those two.
Beyond the order in which we eat, there are other factors that could impact how full we feel, mainly distractions.
There's definitely some evidence that when we're distracted while eating, like reading, watching TV, driving, doing other things, that we are less tuned in and listening to our body.
Lisa Harnick is a professor in community health and says if you're in tune with your body while eating, you feel the physical sensations of fullness.
And if you're not paying attention to those cues because you're distracted by something else, you're not getting those cues that tell you, oh, I've had enough.
From proper sequencing to truly being present with your meal, your latest attempt at a healthy diet isn't just what you choose to eat, but being intentional with how you eat it.
Are you shopping for a car this summer? Coming up, the models earning top spots for safety. If you're shopping for a new car, the latest crash test results are showing some models offer more protection than others. Here's a look at some of the safest vehicles this summer and how the newest technology is being put to test.
A morning commute, a trip to the store, a weekend getaway. Millions of drivers take to the roads every day. But unfortunately, thousands end up in crashes.
Ma'am, can you hear me?
The good news, safety tests like these are raising the bar for protection on the road.
We see crash avoidance technology in particular is reducing front to rear crashes that are reported to police by about 50%.
At 40 plus miles per hour, the Insurance Institute for Highway Safety puts new technology and materials under real-world pressure. And this summer, 4 more 2026 models earned their top Safety Pick Plus rating. The Audi A6, BMW X1, Mazda CX-5, and the Subaru Crosstrek Hybrid. All vehicles getting top marks for performance in front and side collisions, crash prevention technology, headlights, and seatbelt safety.
They do, in many cases, have the latest and greatest technology. So they have crash avoidance technology that uses forward-looking sensors to detect other vehicles, motorcycles, pedestrians.
And with a renewed focus on protecting passengers.
They've added seatbelt technology to help protect the driver. We haven't seen the same improvements in the rear seat. And so it's just taking manufacturers a little bit of time to catch up.
If you are car shopping this summer, safety doesn't have to come with a luxury price tag.
We have over a dozen vehicles that are under $30,000.
Regardless of makes and models, risky driving behaviors like speeding, texting, and impairment remain the leading cause of crashes. Evan Moon, CBS News.
Well, folks, thanks so much for joining us here on this Saturday. It's time to get an extended look at what you need to know weather-wise for the day today. Temperatures are going to be warm. We'll continue to see daytime highs that will be in the 80s, and I am tracking a mostly sunny, yet at times breezy weather pattern as we move forward through this afternoon. And it is even going to be prompting some elevated fire weather risks for parts of north central Washington, so that's why we are going to be aware of that as we move forward. We're seeing elevated fire danger specifically for things like the Okanagan Valley, the Colville Reservation, as well as parts of the Waterville Plateau. Temperatures this afternoon, this is a look at them. Highs in the mid-80s for Spokane and Coeur d'Alene. We're also sitting in the mid-80s through Bonners Ferry and Sandpoint. Low to mid-90s for the LC Valley. A high of 94 degrees for Richland there in the Tri-Cities, and some upper 80s across the central part of the state. These temperatures today are actually a couple of degrees cooler than where we were at yesterday, but it definitely is still going to feel like summer across the inland northwest. We're pairing those warmer temperatures with this widespread sunshine through the rest of this afternoon. But as we move into tonight as well as tomorrow, we are gradually going to see some increasing clouds. So at times through this evening, it is going to be partly cloudy. We're sitting partly cloudy through Sunday as well as Sunday afternoon and into Monday. That's when we'll start to see a clearing trend. But even though we are going to be seeing a few more clouds, it is still a predominantly dry weather forecast, really through our extended forecast. Here's a look at those winds, though, because this is what we monitor closely when it comes to that elevated fire weather risk. And so the eyes are going to be on this area of the inland northwest near the Cooley Dam up toward Omak, where wind gusts could be near 35 miles per hour and relative humidity as low as 12%. The good news is that winds do die down overnight tonight and into our Sunday. Sunday in general, winds will be lighter. So if you have outdoor plans, might want to consider moving them to Sunday if you are too bothered there by the wind. But of course, if you do any outdoor recreation, always be fire weather aware. Overnight tonight, we fall mostly into the low 60s for Spokane and Coeur d'Alene. We are in the upper 50s tonight for Deer Park as well as Sandpoint, low 60s for Grand Coulee and Moses Lake. And as we take a look at what's to come tomorrow, highs will be the coolest really out of the next 7 days, even though this is a look at the 3-day forecast. 83 tomorrow for Sunday, partly cloudy skies, still nice if you want to spend some time outdoors. Temperatures are going to climb early next week, where we are going to watch for highs in the upper 80s to low 90s pretty consistently. So make sure you're staying hydrated and you have a good way to cool down, especially in the heat of the day. To always get the latest updates on the forecast as well as stream our live local radar, make sure you download the KREM 2 app for free on your TV or your phone.
When wildfires break out, one big challenge firefighters struggle with is exhaustion. When a major fire happens, sometimes work crews can often extend those shifts, making extremely long days. Christian Lopez found out some agencies have guidelines in place to help.
When wildfires spread, crews are moved to where they're needed the most. Right now, at least 14 Idaho firefighters are helping with wildfire response in California. But officials say sending crews out of state does not mean Idaho is left without resources.
It's a very well-coordinated system throughout the U.S. that shares resources for the fire that is taking place, and then with the anticipation and forecasting of where the next fire may be. Those resources are coordinated appropriately.
That coordination is what allows crews to respond quickly. But for firefighters on the ground, assignments like that can come with physical and mental tolls.
There's no denying that it is a grueling job. It is very physically and mentally demanding. Requires us to be out for days on end, working long hours.
Fire agencies have guidelines in place to help manage fatigue, including required rest periods and limits on work and travel hours. Still, Jansen says wildfire response can mean long days, limited sleep, and weeks away from home. For firefighters, staying healthy is what's part of staying ready.
I mean, for me personally, I've been doing it for 35 years and I've got a real good balance. I put physical fitness and health and nutrition, diet and exercise as a top priority. I believe that helps out a lot. When I am out leading a task force or a strike team or running a major fire, it's morale to me. It's keeping the spirits up, remembering why we're out and what the mission and the purpose is to take care of the citizens that we swore to protect. So it's a calling, but it's a job that we all volunteered to do. So I just try and keep that in the forefront of everybody's memory, take care of them, motivate them, and just try and be, a good supervisor, but also a good leader.
And fire officials say preventing wildfires is still one of the biggest ways the public can help crews working on the front lines. All right, did you check your calendar this morning? It's 7-Eleven, and we've got a classic way to celebrate. That's next. All right, Jenny, it is July 11th or 7-Eleven, and I'm sure you know what that means, right?
Free Slurpees.
Free Slurpee Day. So yes, today is your chance to get a free small Slurpee from any 7-Eleven convenience store location. And turns out this year actually marks 60 years of free 7-Eleven Slurpees.
Oh, wow. Okay, so definitely a major milestone there. To celebrate, 7-Eleven has some special edition cups.
All right, and some flavors to enjoy this year: Mountain Dew Confetti, Blue Raspberry, and Cherry. All right, what are you going for, Jenny?
The blue raspberry.
Blue
Even
raspberry is
though
classic.
it totally changes your tongue and the inside of your mouth, it's worth it.
All right, the raspberry, I like to go with whatever. Yeah, that's usually like one of the more fruitier sides of the Slurpees. I know some people get the classic like Coca-Cola one.
Oh, that's right.
But for me, that doesn't feel as fun,
No, you got to get like the cherry,
one of the fruit
full
flavors.
Kid.
You got to go full kid with the Slurpees in the 7-Eleven day. Is there any type of luck that comes along with 7-Eleven as well?
I don't know, but it feels like it. I mean, you're getting a free Slurpee. Do you remember,
that is
though,
lucky,
also, when they would just let you bring in like whatever container?
Yes, I do remember that.
That is a throwback.
People were going crazy. People were going like, big buckets, and there's all kinds of things that people were, it's like fish tanks, things of that nature. Although fishy, Slurpee, it doesn't sound appealing by any means, but hey, to each his own.
That's true. And I mean, I'm sure with the cost of inflation, at least we're still getting the free small Slurpees.
Exactly. So maybe you go out there today, get yourself a free Slurpee. Jenny, you've been telling us it's going to be rather warm, so perfect combination right there. But we do want to say thank you again for joining us here, starting your morning here with us on Up with KREM. We appreciate you, and we'll see you next time.
Have a good day, everybody. Stay safe and have fun this weekend.